good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, aggrieved customers of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management petition Securities and Exchange Commission demanding payment of their locked-up funds. We will be live at the commission where the customers have been picketing for 3 days. Also coming up, we assess government's plan to migrate commercial taxi drivers onto a ride-hailing app as part of efforts to digitalize the operations.
The task was to digitize the operations of our regular taxis, just as you have with Uber. I'm happy to say that that work has now been completed. In the next couple of months, we will be able to place our taxis, at least in Greater Accra to start with, all on an Uber-like platform.
We have analysis on that coming up. Do stay with us. The marketplace continues in a bit. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. First up, aggrieved customers of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management have presented a petition to the Securities and Exchange Commission demanding payment of their locked-up funds. It's been 4 years since the regulator collapsed Gold Coast Fund Management, and the customers say all efforts to get their monies paid back have proven futile. They have been picketing the Securities and Exchange Commission for 3 days. Joy Business's James Ishen is following events for us. He joins us on the phone with the latest. So, James, the latest we're hearing is that finally the customers have been able to present their petition to the Securities and Exchange Commission, correct?
True. And they've finally, should I say, they've had some sort of good news from the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Securities and Exchange Commission actually gave them some sort of assurance this time, indicating that they will try as soon as possible to work to expedite processes to ensure that they get their money paid within a shortest possible time. So they now have some sort of positive news that indicates that this time SEC is giving them assurance that they will definitely make sure that their monies are being paid. But after the petition, I engaged the convener of the aggrieved customers, that is Charles Nyame, on what's next with the timeline. But before that, SEC actually never gave out a timeline on when they would actually respond to this particular petition. But what they said was it would be addressed as soon as possible. But Charles Nyame, who happens to be a convener for the aggrieved customers, indicated that they are giving SEC a 1 week or a week ultimatum to address these issues, else they will bounce back.
Yeah, exactly the concern, isn't it? Because this is not the first time the Securities and Exchange Commission has said we are going to get this fixed. And so it's not a surprise that the aggrieved customers, they are wondering if this is just talk or is actually going to happen. Again, you say SEC didn't give a timeline as to when the payment is going to be done?
Yeah, exactly. So SEC never gave a timeline when the payment will be done. But what they said, I mean, the head of communications and external affairs, Dr. Godwin Asare, what he said was that as soon as possible, SEC is committed to ensuring that these customers have their money paid into their respective accounts. So there was no timeline, but for the conveners, for the convener of the aggrieved customers, what he said was he is actually giving SEC a week ultimatum to ensure that they respond to this particular petition.
So after a week, what would they do?
So after a week, what next I asked was that he said after a week they would bounce back. If nothing positive comes out of this, they would bounce back and still continue with their picketing.
All right, James Ishen, thanks for that update. So that was my colleague James Ishen live for us at the premises of the Securities and Exchange Commission, where aggrieved customers of Gold Coast have been picketing for 3 days. The latest is that they have been able to now present their petition to SEC. SEC has given assurance that they will get their monies paid soon, but there's no specific timeline. And the aggrieved customers saying they are giving SEC 1 week to make the payment, or they are going to head back to their premises. Among the claims by customers is that government has made available some funds to pay them, but they accuse the Securities and Exchange Commission of holding back. Now, Director General of SEC, Reverend Daniel Kwawu, reacted to this in March this year on PM Express. He explained that the 5.5 billion cedi bailout provided by government must be complemented with proceeds from liquidation of the company for the exercise to be complete. As you may be aware, SEC is in a legal tussle with Gold Coast over liquidation of its assets. Take a listen.
Engaged official liquidator to go to court and to get the court to grant the liquidation order. Now, when the liquidation order is granted by the court, then the official liquidator assumes both the assets and liabilities of the failed entities. And then when they are able to make some recoveries, they will be the official liquidator will be in a position to make some payouts. Usually it's called paying a dividend to the creditors. Yeah. Now, because we use that pathway, number one, we had to wait for the official liquidator to go to court to get the liquidation order. That takes a process. Now, what we did, and this is in the line of protecting investors, was to engage the government and to say that given the fact that people need their funds, given the fact that the liquidation pathway, you can't guarantee when it will terminate. We made the representation to government through the Ministry of Finance for a bailout to be rolled out. Because ordinarily, if you have invested with a fund management company that has failed, then you have to wait for the liquidator to recover some assets and then sell the assets, and then from the proceeds make some payment to you. And you can wait for as long as that process will persist. But we stepped in and engaged the government through the Ministry of Finance. So a bailout scheme was rolled out. Now, the ministry or the government gave two key conditions for the rollout of the bailout. One was that the claims of the investors must be validated, and then two, liquidation orders must be granted.
Senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, joins me on Zoom with some reaction to unfolding events. Good afternoon to you. Your thoughts concerning the delays in paying the aggrieved customers of Gold Coast? It's been 4 years. It appears it cannot wait any longer. The latest, as we have been reporting, is that SEC has assured once again they are going to make the payments, but has not given any timelines. And they give customers saying, we are going to give you 1 more week. If you don't pay us, we are going to head back. It looks like an unending issue here. All right, I'm going to try one more time to connect with Dr. Amwa. If you can hear me, Dr. Amwa, your reaction to the latest developments to do with the concerns of aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management. All right, his feed is frozen there. We'll go back to that conversation if we're able to. But as we have been reporting this afternoon, the concerned customers of Gold Coast Fund Management have now presented their petition to SEC. SEC has given assurance that it will take, they'll make their payments very soon, but has not given a specific timeline. And the aggrieved customer is also saying that we are going to give you 1 week to fix this. Otherwise, we are going to head back. We'll speak with Dr. Benjamin Amwa once we're able to establish contact with him again. A bit of technical difficulty there. But to another story we are following for you, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has announced that commercial taxi drivers in the Greater Accra region will soon be connected to a digital system similar to the electronic platforms used by Uber and Bolt. This will allow the public to access their services from any location in the region. The Vice President was speaking at the opening of the 46th session of the General Council meeting of the Church of Pentecost in the Central region, where he said the entire public and private transport systems or sectors in the region will soon transition to a tap-and-go system accessible with Oyster cards by the end of the year.
Not a long time, about almost a year ago, taxi drivers came to see me in my office. One of their major problems that they presented to me. Team said, look, our business is collapsing. I said, what is the problem? He said, now we have Uber, and many people are not taking taxis as before. You know, people want to feel safer, and for other reasons, so they will rather call Uber and bring us. So Uber is taking our business. So how can you help us? So we sat down with my team and said, okay, how do we help our taxi drivers compete with the Uber drivers so that they can also be like Uber? So we set the team to work. And so the task was to digitize the operations of our regular taxis, just as you have with Uber. I'm happy to say that that work has now been completed. And in the next couple of months, we will be able to place our taxis, at least in Greater Accra to start with, all on an Uber-like platform. And you'll be able to call them just like you call Ubers to your homes and all of that. It's a practical solution to a practical problem. And that is the sort of thing we, as politicians, should be focusing on, dealing with problems of our people. And there's more actually coming, but this is not the forum. I think we are attacking everybody. Trotros will come later on, VIP buses, Ayalolo, Metro Mass. The whole public sector is going to go on, and private sector transport is going to go on what we call a tap-and-go system. When you go to England, they have the Oyster card that you travel with. Ghana is also going to have an Oyster card before the end of this year.
All right, on Zoom with us, Isidore Potofe, who is Chief Marketing Officer of TRIPS, which operates bus-hailing platform across Africa. Good afternoon to you, Isidore. So what do you make of this plan or this idea by the government?
Yeah, thank you very much, Daryl, and good afternoon to your viewers and listeners in Ghana and across the world. I think the intention is good, but the approach is wrong, as far as I'm concerned. What government is doing.
All right, Isidore is frozen there. Isidore, if you can hear me, you're making a point.
Sorry, can you hear me, Daryl?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. So like I was saying, the government's intention is good, but the approach is wrong as far as I'm concerned. What the government is seeking to do is to build and invest, build and operate a ride-hailing platform to enable the informal public transport sector. So those operated in that space include the taxis, the truckers, and long distance. And so to be on this platform, I need to enable to them. But that is the approach to build the platform by government itself and to market the platform by itself and operate it eventually. It's a wrong one because we have seen many times when government is involved in the provision of a private services that there's always a challenge of continuity. There's always a challenge of proper investment. There's always the challenge of building innovations that respond to the customer needs. What I would have, the best approach that I would have advised would be that government partner with the private sector. So the challenge here that the government, the vice president cited was that the taxi drivers came to him and they complained about the fact that they are not getting business anymore because of the penetration of platforms like Uber, Bolt, and the rest in the space. I would have advised government to partner with these platforms to create a separate category of offering on this platform for the taxis. All right, so when you go to the app, when you go to the one system, you can request.
All right.
That would have been the more. plan to also invest or get the likes of the trust to be on the same platform. It's not really the best way for us to innovate in the space. Having to put all services together on the same platform, because it becomes very difficult for customers to have the best experience when different kinds of services are put together. These are my initial comments.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, because you raised two important points. First of all, I want to talk about even if we have the infrastructure to support this in the first place, and then what it means for businesses such as yours, that is competition coming your way.
Well, in terms of infrastructure, I'm not in the government, so I wouldn't be able to speak to that, unfortunately. But this is what I would say. So speaking again on infrastructure, it's always better for government to invest in the infrastructure needed for services to be delivered to the end user, rather than wanting to deliver the service to the end user. So we need infrastructure in quality data connectivity. We need investment in roads to make more roads more travel. We need infrastructure in connecting the transport system so different transport networks can speak to each other, so that entrepreneurs can build on top of this platform or on top of this infrastructure. So that's one. That's the sort of infrastructure investment that we have expected from government. The second bit beyond the infrastructure investment is the government can do other things, right? We're not seeing so many interventions, so many investment in the space because there aren't enough incentives for private sector players to invest. So there need to be tax incentives. There need to be some concessions given to investors interested in upgrading fleets, in investing, in taking long-term risk, investing in technologies, investing in newer fleets, investing in cost-efficient fleets as well, like electric vehicles. This is the sort of interventions that we would expect from the government, right? In terms of interventions. I am not so sure that the government is in the right position to compete with the private sector when it comes to the provision of digital hailing services. I'm not entirely convinced because we have seen large penetration of ride-hailing services by the private sector already in the space. I'm not sure what is different that the government is going to offer through this platform to all of a sudden mobilize or galvanize the sort of support that is looking to give the service provider. So in terms of competition, I'm not entirely convinced that the government has any chance at all, has any fair chance.
I'm sure I also read that the Vice President was considering extending this to bus services as well, what we know to be trotros here in Ghana. And I want to talk about, because your company is attempting something like that, actually launched it, the largest cash bus sharing platform. How's that going? Looks. Did you hear my question?
Sorry, I didn't hear the.
Yeah, so I was just making a point that the Vice President was talking about attempting a bus hailing app as well, something we consider after the taxis. And I was just saying, Trips has just launched the largest bus sharing platform across Africa. And I just wanted to talk about it just a bit.
Okay, yeah. So let me just correct that a little bit. We have invested in alternative bus transportation in Ghana, in Nigeria, and in other markets. What we have seen from experience is that so many customers want quality service as far as bus transportation, public transportation is concerned, but are not ready yet to pay the price that comes with it. So you invest in newer fleet, you invest in technology to optimize the delivery of the service, you invest in many other things to make the service smooth, as we have seen in very well-functioning societies. And this investment must be recouped. And the customer pays for that. And we have seen that customers are very price sensitive to this sort of investment, and which makes it very difficult to sustain. There are many companies that have tried what we have done, this sort of investment we have done in Ghana and in Nigeria and other markets, and it's been the challenge keeps being the same, the sustainability of this investment, and that's where you need government to intervene, to provide some concessions, some grants, some tax incentives for us to provide the service to the customer in a cost-efficient way. And so the challenge for the customer is not just having access to Trotro, which doesn't always come with the best of service when the best of quality service. And it goes beyond just access. It also has to do a lot with quality. The quality of the bus, the quality of the person delivering the service, and so this is where the investment is needed, and not just the technology. What we have done from this learning is that we have created an alternative platform to car ownership. So it is the largest car sharing platform in Africa right now, operating in 4 markets in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and Uganda. And what this platform does is to allow local car owners to list their cars for rental by the hour, by half a day, by the day, by the week, or by the month. So this is an alternative to Uber, to traditional car rental, in the sense that you need a private transportation for yourself. You need the convenience of having a dedicated driver, a dedicated car throughout your activity. And so you'll be able to have that with the platform that we have just launched and currently operating in Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, and Kenya, and any other markets.
All right, Isidore, we have to go. Isidore Potofit, Chief Marketing Officer of CHIPS, appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Back to our top story. As we have been reporting this afternoon, aggrieved customers of Gold Coast Fund Management have presented a petition to the Securities and Exchange Commission. We have heard finally from the Securities and Exchange Commission on this matter, assuring the customers that they are working to get their payments made soon. They did not give specific timelines. The customers saying they're giving SEC 1 week. If nothing happens, they're going to head back to the SEC premises. Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, is on Zoom with us to react to the latest developments. What do you make of what we're hearing right now from SEC, the reaction from the aggrieved customers who have been waiting 4 years to get their payments made?
Unfortunate for these customers to be going through this, but then this is what the situation is on the ground. If you look at the provisions that the government made as a condition to the bailout that the government promised, the conditions were basically 2, that all accounts should be verified. And then secondly, the difference in whatever government was going to provide by way of bailout will have to be supplied from the asset pool of the defunct fund management companies. And this is where the difficulty is for
Okay, a bit of technical difficulty there. Hopefully, we would get Dr. Benjamin Amwa on with us. If you can hear me, Doc, you're making a point. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so now the difficulty is how to get the access of blank shares to be made available for the official liquidation to go through, then the payment can be made. The government doesn't want to use 85.5 billion as the sole fund pool to be used to pay off the creditors, or what we call the customers in this case. It's more of a shared responsibility. So black shares must make 8 assets available. That's where the challenge is. And the 5 billion is not only for black shares customers. It's for all the affected customers. And so until that hurdle is overcome by SEC, in terms of having full access to the asset pool of Black Shield, it's unfortunate that the customers will have to go into this. And that is how it's going to be for now. We'll give 1 week. If 1 week still SEC has not been able to deal with that particular headache, what are we going to see? So the path is a little bit not clear in this case. And so I don't know what the customers will have to do. Then maybe just keep piling up the pressure.
So,
And again, I don't know if they can contact the owners of Black Shield.
Because now SEC says that we don't have access to the asset pool of Black Shield. That's a difficulty because we have to go to the liquidation process. And that is a challenge.
And so we cannot say that SEC is poorly handling the matter. Obviously, they have to wait for the legal processes or the challenges to be resolved, don't they?
Yeah, that's the difficulty now. Because until that legal aspect of the issue or the contention is dealt with, it's going to be extremely difficult for, I'm sorry to say, for the customers to have any leeway in terms of their funds, having access to their funds. So that is it now. I don't know how long it is going to be. I don't know how long it's going to be, but that is what is facing everybody as far as this particular issue is concerned.
But generally, what would you or how do you perceive the approach in handling this matter? I mean, clearly, 4 years is too long a time to wait. If you listen to these customers and the things they've had to go through during these 4 years, on hindsight, what should have been the approach in getting these customers paid their investments?
It was going to be very difficult for the customers because, you see, this is an investment that you've gone in for, and there will always be risk in this investment. Unfortunately, this time around, somebody will say that the risk was pushed down the throat of the customers because of the decision that SEC took some years ago to revoke the license of some of these fund management companies. But seriously speaking, SEC has no issue in this at all. SEC just acted on the laws that set up SEC and what SEC must do if there are infractions within the industry. Unfortunately, there was a promised bailout.
Okay.
And the bailout from government was conditioned on some things taking place. And it is happening that one of the issue or the conditions, which is liquidate asset, is what is now making it difficult for the funds to be made available to the customers.
We just have a minute, and I want to ask you, is there anything the government can do right now to ease matters, apart from the 5.5 billion cedis it has provided as bailout funds?
In the official announcement, it was made clear that the total amount available was 8 billion. And the difference between the 8 billion and what government was to provide is to be mobilized from the asset pool of these fund management companies. So
some conditions to also make up extra provision, especially in this current situation that we find ourselves, is going to be extremely difficult. The question we need to be asking ourselves is, why is it that the managers of Black Shield are refusing to cooperate? Why are they refusing to cooperate? If really they want to bring finality to this issue, what is it in there that the
managers are not prepared to cooperate so that the assets can be made available and whatever can be realized, and then it can be added to the 5.5.
All right, Doc.
And once it's due them, the customers will pay.
I'm sure we'll certainly continue this conversation. I appreciate your time with us. Dr. Benjamin Amwat there, Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. That's the marketplace, everyone. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We will be back same time tomorrow.